Living Things and How They Survive, Lesson Sequence Analysis and Justification by Kayla Tubman. Sandy Plains State School is a rural prep to 10 school located 900 kilometres west of Brisbane, containing 75 to 80 students, 8 full-time teachers, 6 teacher aides, and one of whom is an Indigenous education worker, Kath. Sandy Plains State School provides a quality education where teachers adapt C2C documents to successfully differentiate for the vast learners in the classroom. The lesson sequence up for discussion is aimed at a multi-age class of Year 4 to 6 students, with 3 main areas of differentiation to be taken into consideration. These are learners ranging between year levels 2 to 6 academic ability, 3 Indigenous ESL students, and a gifted student who prefers mathematics and science and dislikes literacy. Therefore, a number of teaching strategies have been placed throughout the sequence to accommodate the learning needs within the classroom. Lester's 2005 Social Constructivist and Critical Perspectives of Learning and Teaching theory respects the challenges teachers face in multi-age classrooms, where they must differentiate for learners' academic abilities, age level of ability, differences and preferences in learning, as they are recognised as active agents of their own learning. The sequence chooses 3 different types of grouping strategies for the students, where they work in ability groups, multi-ability and age level groups. Mixed ability and multi-age grouping allows for the mixing of ages, beneficially providing the opportunity for younger students to aspire their levels of capability and the older students to rise their expectations of responsibility as they lend and use their expertise to the younger students, according to Lester 2005. This grouping is evident in Lesson 5, where students work independently and then share and discuss in mixed academic and age level groups, taking on a cooperative learning approach, according to Stewart 2006, eliminating an implication of students befriending each other based on their year level or age. The age level grouping, according to Alessi 1994, on the other hand, is a teaching strategy used throughout the sequence to address specific curriculum content via explicit teaching scenarios. This breaks students into their year level age appropriate groups, evidently in Lesson 6, where explicit teaching episodes within the rotations focuses on achieving the student's curriculum appropriate content knowledge. The third type of grouping in the sequence breaks students into academic ability grouping, where the teacher can use explicit instruction to develop their skills, according to Yarrow et al. 1999. Evidently in Lesson 6, the students are broken into literacy ability groups for reading rotations, allowing for differentiation in the literature according to their level of literacy development and skills. An important note to make here is the beneficial opportunity for continuous progress in the multi-age level classroom, providing learners challenge, time to learn and master concepts and skills in their year level and ability, or achieve this the following year, according to Costa and Timmins 2002. This progressive education pedagogy, evident in the sequence via the ability age and mixed age grouping teaching strategies, and in the multi-age classroom setting, emphasises a student-centred planning approach, adhering the theory of Dewey, 1964. An implication of this specific and various grouping, though, throughout the sequence calls for time-consuming, complex planning on the teacher's behalf, but effectively pays off in the end, according to Schulz, 2012. Costa and Timmins 2002 also state that these various grouping strategies allow students to recognise they're all diverse and individual learners in the classroom. The classroom encounters a gifted student who prefers science and maths and doesn't like English. The beauty of this cross-curricular lesson sequence, and the assessment task especially, is that the English becomes somewhat hidden, as the main focus is on the scientific content. Myers and Jones, 1993, believe that when teachers select topics that engage student interest, they boost motivation in the teaching and learning environment, maximising engagement and driving students to portray their best talents in their work. With students' interests on board, they can be further challenged. The sequence offers extension activities for fast finishers in the group in Lesson 5, and the gifted student is accommodated by being placed in the higher literacy group in Lesson 6, where higher order thinking and more challenging worksheets are available. The sequence, according to Kincello and Whale 2004, evidently demonstrates the sequence structure of Bloom's higher order thinking skills, as students recall and retrieve scientific knowledge, comprehend and interpret various informative texts, apply and execute knowledge in various tasks, analyze and distinguish between components and parts of living things, adaptation features, create an informative text, and generate it in a chosen method of presentation. Therefore, the sequence accommodates the gifted student with planned higher-order thinking strategies of challenge. In relation to interests, Terry Waters-Marsh 2002 researched the power of choice in assessment with students and found that students with control of their assessment choices were empowered to achieve good results as they were motivated and had the incentive to perform. The assessment task linked with the lesson sequence allows for choice in the role of farmer or biologist when authoring their informative text. This planned choice, according to Brooke 2010, allows students to explore a familiar living thing within their comfort zone or choose an unfamiliar living thing, challenging their knowledge, research, and exploring skills. The student's context of living is also, therefore, taken into consideration as they have the choice to take on the role of a farmer, discussing their knowledge of a familiar animal they would find on a Sandy Plains property. Kent 2009 states that a lower academic student will feel more comfortable in discussing a familiar context, therefore making the task doable. The students can also choose the type of presentation for their informative text, accessing their interests and motivating incentive to perform, whether that's digitally designing with ICTs or hands-on with print materials. The power of choice in the sequences assessment allows students to portray their best academically, adhering Dewey's 1964 theory that emphasises the student and their interest rather than subject matter. The 3 Indigenous second language learners in the classroom are accommodated for with visual teaching strategies, group placement, and independent cultural guidance. Alonso 2011 states that ESL students derive from a home background where their native mother tongue language is spoken at home. Although the student is required to speak English in 21st century education, respect to their cultural and native language is paramount. Evidently, in Lesson 5, the school's Indigenous education worker, Kath, aims to provide native language translation where needed and cultural significance of the curriculum content where necessary during an independent task. Nishio 2007 states that non-native speakers of English will struggle when it comes to literary activities in the classroom. Therefore, the ESL Indigenous students are accommodated for with placement in the low literacy group during Lesson 6's reading rotations to cater for their low level of reading ability, English language skills and development. Fort and Pangle 2001 believe ESL students struggle with reading in English as their natural tendency is for the reader to translate the words into their native language in their head as they read, therefore slowing them down as they focus on individual words as opposed to overall meaning of the text. They further state an effective teaching strategy to help with meaning making during comprehension activities is the use of visual cues. The sequence encompasses a number of visual teaching strategies to accommodate the ESL students in the classroom. All attached worksheets evidently connect the main focus words with images in hopes of achieving this accommodation for the ESL students. Evidently, in Lesson 6, the reading rotations ensure all texts are accompanied with visual cues to help students make meaning of what they're reading. Incorporating hands-on activities also help the ESL students connect with and demonstrate the content, making learning more concrete, according to Nishio 2007. The low literacy group in the reading rotations of Lesson 6 involve cut-and-paste activities, where the students are making meaning by connecting images with words to support them as they make meaning of the scientific content. The teacher also develops a visual graphic organizer in the form of a word wall throughout the sequence to display the new and challenging vocabulary. Differentiating for an ESL student in the classroom is challenging for teachers without a background of English as a second language pedagogy, as they attempt to determine appropriate teaching methods and goals for these students, according to Alonso 2011. The challenge can be overcome, though, when a teacher takes the time to get to know their student interpersonally, academically, and most importantly, culturally. The lesson sequence encompasses task and performance teacher modelling, according to Kofi 2006, in Lesson 5, where the teacher models an activity for the students, demonstrating how to do the task and its expectations before expecting independence of the students. Clement and Reremes, 2008, state that when modelling is used inappropriately, though, it can fail. Fortunately, Lesson 6 plans for success, as the teacher actively engages the students using the interactive whiteboard and plans to provide a successful model of their independent task. Sandy Plains equips its classrooms with an interactive whiteboard, also known as an IWB, and a small bank of computers in each classroom, with access to books in a small library and internet for the computers. The lesson sequence uses all available resources to vary the teaching methods of lessons. The lesson sequence provides tiered worksheets to cater for the learning needs of the classroom. Sylvester, 2003, states that tiered learning tasks in the lesson sequence engage students slightly beyond what they find easier or challenged by, which, according to Vygotsky, 1986, promotes continued learning. The worksheets created, and even the various print and digital text throughout the sequence, are tiered to ensure the low-level students are more guided and structured, allowing them to feel the task is doable, compared to the high literacy level students who are provided more independent and challenging work. An implication for the teacher with this resource is the variety of multiple worksheets to mark after the activity for formative assessment purposes, if chosen to do so. Here is an example of two of the tiered worksheets from Lesson 6. On the left is an independent worksheet that has more challenging tasks and independent literary features, whereas the worksheet on the right contains tasks that aren't focused on literary activities and features, therefore using cut and paste or match the description activities. L. Maffei, 2009, states ICTs in the classroom provide students with real-life skills for the 21st century digital world and will engage and motivate students throughout the sequence via ICT integration. The ICT time is equally shared between students when it's utilised, evidently in Lesson 6 during the reading rotations. The students learn new analytical skills on the computers, according to L. Maffei, 2009, including the improvement and development of reading comprehension. This is evident in the lesson sequence with the use of YouTube for the digital video literary texts in Lesson 6, as it's accessible in the rural area, only requiring the internet. A contemporary insinuation of this resource, though, is its reliance on the internet, which could crash at any time. Therefore, downloading the YouTube videos could avoid this implication. Although ICT is a contemporarily great teaching tool, according to L. Maffei, 2009, there should also be an equal balance in printed literary texts, hence the providing of printed texts such as books throughout the sequence. An implication in Lesson 6's reading rotation is the availability of the selected book, though. Therefore, that part of the lesson is left open in case this scenario occurs. The IWB is effectively used throughout the lessons for teacher modelling demonstrations, PowerPoint slide viewing, video viewing, and note-taking. An IWB is only an effective teaching tool in the classroom when it's used appropriately. Often teachers can be unfamiliar with this tool and use it ineffectively, according to Tatley and Keeley, 2015. With familiarisation on what an IWB can do comes effective use. For example, in Lesson 5, during the teacher modelling episode, the teacher effectively uses the highlighter tool on the IWB to draw on the internet web pages in which notes are being taken off of. This provides visual cues for all learners in the classroom as they learn how to take notes from large amounts of information. The IWB should also be used interactively with the students, according to Tatley and Keeley, 2015, and the means of allowing students to approach the board to demonstrate the skill that they're learning. As stated by Costa and Timmins, 2002, multi-level classrooms are built on the premise that diversity is not a challenge to be overcome, but an asset and a resource that promotes learning. Therefore, upon conclusion, the lesson sequence effectively differentiates for all learners in the multi-age classroom, effectively utilises the resources made available, effectively uses various teaching strategies to create effective and engaging teaching and learning experiences.